very difficult for her. We're also losing time, man. I don't think I'm gonna get a taxi. This is a very routine thing that has happened in our cities. I've been waiting here for a taxi and just look at the traffic that has been happening. I don't think I'll be able to reach my office. It's jam-packed and I hate the sound of the blaring cars. It's very disgusting, right? And I really wish if I could fly in the air and reach my office and attend my meeting on time. Wow, I don't think that is happening. I'm sure you must have all related this feeling of disgust and frustration standing in the road, traveling in the car, just like I have felt. And I said, let's travel in the air. Is that possible? You might think that this is a strange thing. What am I trying to tell you? How can I fly my car in the air? So if you believe that this is an impossible task, then you're wrong. Because this is possible, the concept of flying car is definitely possible, and it is not a new concept. This was as popular as 1917, probably 100 years before. In this Learnado, let's unravel the concept of a flying car. Wow, it's going to be really fun flying in your own car into the sky. When I really say 100 years, people do not believe it. And sometimes, as we say, reality is stranger than fiction. But it is a fact that in 1917, as early as 1917, Glenn Hammond Curtis, an aviation freak, created the first flying car. So from that time onwards, when I say aviation, creating a flying car, there has been a lot of people, hundreds of people around the world who have sacrificed their life living for the cause of creating aviation or an aircraft in their life. So many people, right from Glenn Hammond Curtis to Stephen Klein, the aeromobile man who we will discuss in this Learnado session, and a lot of other people. I still remember the movie, if you have seen the movie Aviator, Leonardo DiCaprio, you must have seen how hardly he tries to create an aircraft. So aviation and flying in the air is a great feeling. And when we talk about the flying car, is it really possible? So I'm reminded by the famous Jetsons cartoon of the old 1960s. So if you haven't watched the cartoon, you should really watch it. And the trailer still beautifully conveys this, how the family of Jetson, how he travels in the air in a small car-like aeroplane, how he drops off his daughter, son, wife in the offices, and finally he lands in his office space and finally parks the aircraft and finally folds the aircraft into a suitcase and he holds in his hand and he simply walks. So when all the people watch this cartoon, everybody believed that this is going to be the future, just like Back to the Future movie depicts. But a lot of people have tried creating this into reality. So when I tell you about the flying car and you need to fly in your car, the one simple thing that you should know is the problem that you will encounter. Where will the aircraft land? You know that the normal planes usually land in the runway. For flying cars or the concepts like flying, it was a big problem because everybody could not afford a runway. First of all, you need to spend money on buying an aircraft. So you also have to take permission to land in a runway. That was very difficult. So that was a time when people, the aviation freaks, created the concept of VTOL, which means vertical takeoff and vertical landing. That means you can vertically take off in any place and vertically land in any place, just like some helicopters does. So after this technology, let me just take you back to the history. So 1917, Glenn Curtis created the first autoplane. He created the first autoplane and he's considered as one of the founders of modern American aircraft industry. So when he founded the autoplane, it flew well, but it did not land well. It had a problem. So his whole idea, the dream of flying, was in vain. And after some time, the next version came in, which was called as the AC-35. it was much more better than the autoplane. It could still go up. It was a very small car-like thing. It can still go up and it could still come down. And after, when it came down, the pilot could easily switch the pilot engine into the normal car driving wheel. But what happened is, the cost that he used to create was so high as $12,500 years back, which again became very unaffordable. I don't think anybody is so rich, the common people is so rich to buy this aircraft. So due to the high price, it was also a failure. And after some time, we created a new concept called the Aerocar, and the man behind was Moulton Taylor. And this is perhaps the first possible best version of a flying car. He created an Aerocar, and that was beautifully done. It had foldable wings, and the car was beautiful to watch actually. You could actually see the car was like this, and behind the car there was a bogie, or you call it as a trailer. And the trailer was nothing but the wings and tails of the aircraft. You could still use the car, ride it on the road, and once you feel that I want to go fly in the air, you can unfold the wings and tails and simply go up. Wow, that was also a great flying car by Moulton Taylor called the Aerocar. But again, the demand killed it. Nobody ordered it because nobody liked the idea of taking your car into the sky. That was again a disinteresting thing for many of the people. But after that, many versions were seen in the aviation industry. And one of them was called the Mizar, where a Cessna Skymaster aircraft was mixed with a Ford Pinto. It was like a car, and behind the car you had a big wing. That model also could not attract a lot of people. And then there was something called as a Sky Commuter. There are so many versions. And this is the beautiful history of how flying cars dates back to 1917. And recently, we have seen the great hard work of Stefan Klein, who's one such person who has dedicated a lot of his life, energy, his determination to create flying cars. And that brought him to the limelight by the concept called Aeromobile. The Aeromobile 1 and the Aeromobile 2 are one good thing that the modern technology and the modern world is going to see, because they have come up with good standard prototypes of flying cars that can really fly in the sky. And we really hope that someday we could also fly in the air in our own cars, like Stephen Klein's technology says. But that is still not over. We have still one more thing left. You know what is that? I said you can fly in your car. What if I ask you, can I fly in your bike? Yes, there is an option. That is what people call it as the hover bike. Let's find it out. A hover bike is something that simply can hover, and that resembles a motorbike. And what happens is, the technology is something like this. It has two propulsive portions, one in the front and one in the back. So you're in the middle. And it has two propulsive portions. And once you're in it, you can simply fly. I think if you've seen Harry Potter movies, you must have seen how Harry is actually moving in the air with a broom. So this is somewhat very similar to that. And recently, a Japanese-based company called as the ALI Technology has launched a limited edition flying bike called as the X Turismo. It's a limited edition, and if you have the money and even the courage to fly in the air, you can spend Indian rupee at least 5 to 6 crores to get this bike and really fly in the air. And some of the other flying bikes, I should credit British inventor Colin Firth, who created a hover bike using 2 paramotors. Wow, this is very crazy. And the next was the Aero X hover bike, an aircraft created by Aerofx, an airspace engineering corporation based in Los Angeles. And the next was a Hover Surf Scorpion 3, a hover bike launched in 2017. And you must have really seen this in the movies. It is famously used by the Dubai police force. So this was the different types of hover bikes. So there are many other projects coming. And just as I said, technology is advancing, people are progressing. There are many other things coming up. Even the Airbus has announced an air mobility machine that is going to come up. And not only that, Uber is also coming up with an aircraft taxi. What if you'll send a message next and your air taxi will appear in the next place? Wow, what a world that is going to be. So we've discussed about the flying car and the flying bike. So don't you think there is going to be a lot of problems regarding this? Yes. It is not easy to just take your car and bike in the air and just fly. What if you hit an aircraft? So I just simply wanted to tell you that there are going to be a lot of challenges. 15 or 25 years back, nobody could ever believe that you could see your friend in a camera and talk to him in a different city in different part of the world. Technology is advancing so rapidly. So things are going to definitely happen. So in this case, even the United States of America has discussed very detail in this. There has to be some rules and regulations when everybody is going up in the air. I think a lot of new technologies will actually come in. A lot of new rules and regulations of how to fly it in the air is also going to come in. But anyway, mankind is going for a great technological impact. There can be shock waves coming in. Maybe 10 years or 15 years down the line, you will see that a big robber is on the loose in the sky and he's actually in his plane and the police is also chasing him in the air. That can be a sight that we can watch in years to come.